Great reports to the Rockcom Post and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Good morning, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, the search has been called off for 2 missing fishermen in Down East Maine.
Plus, how the closure of a needle exchange in Bangor is impacting the demand for services.
And it's Inauguration Day in Washington, where President-elect Trump will soon take the oath of office.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us. He'll be taking that oath in about 4 hours from now. A big day in Washington. We'll tell you what to expect.
Which does actually mean we won't have our noon news today because it's Inauguration Day.
Everybody will be watching the inauguration from the comfort of our homes, which is nice. I don't think I'd want to be standing outside in Washington. I went to Clinton's inauguration years ago. It was another icy cold day, and by the end, everybody was just ready for it to be over. So they've moved all the festivities inside. Here in our neck of the woods, certainly a winter wonderland out there this morning. Take a look at this live picture from downtown Bar Harbor. This one is from Jetty's Pub overlooking the Frenchman Bay there.
Looks pretty windy.
Yeah, the snow has calmed down, maybe just a few flakes every now and then. Really pretty scene down there.
Beautiful.
Several inches of snow here in the Bangor area as well. And now it's time for all the plow crews to get out and do their thing. The good thing is a lot of people have the day off from school and work because of the Martin Luther King holiday, so they can take their time and get out there and do all the shoveling they need to do, knowing that some real cold weather is coming in right behind it.
Right, because that's the concern. Is it's going to be, as far as Devin Biggs is reporting, -7 tonight, so things will ice over. And it is kind of perfect snowboards, skiing, snow, but it's still those low temps are the concern. So hey, let's get a look at that forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Emma. Happy Monday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by SR1 Companies. Visit SR1 in Herman, Turner, Manchester, and at our newest location, 485 Main Street in Orono. We have the best prices on trailers, campers, tractors, heavy equipment, and more. SR1 Companies, where New England's largest selection meets unbeatable prices. Here we go. This morning, we have winter storm warnings that will last until about the afternoon period today. Roadways will be a mess for a while. Many advisories up because of the snowfall and the cold weather on the way as well, and active surf along the coast. Meanwhile, visibility levels not very great as we start things off this morning at about a mile or so. So again, take it slow and allow extra time if you have to be out. Otherwise, the radar and satellite still showing a snow tracking in from the southwest and going to the north and east. We'll see this gradually back off throughout the daytime period today with improvement as we head towards the afternoon. Zooming things out, this is the only thing going on across the northeast right now, and once this moves out of here, we'll start to calm down in our backyard. Futurecast for today showing a partly cloudy sky later on and a mostly clear sky for the most part coming up later on tonight. Some gusty winds today reaching up to about 25 to even 30 miles per hour at times. The gusty winds continue for a while tonight, but backing off for a bit as we head towards tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, the winds will be back. Hourly forecast moving forward showing decreasing clouds with temperatures in the teens. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma?
Thank you, Devin. We'll have a look at that full 5-day a little later on. Well, first thing this morning, the U.S. Coast Guard has announced they've suspended the search for 2 fishermen off of Down East Maine. Authorities say Chester Barrett and his son, Aaron Barrett, were reported missing Saturday evening by a family member. They hadn't returned on Chester's 34-foot scallop vessel called Sudden Impact, and they couldn't be reached. Officials believe they were traveling from the area around Cobscook Bay State Park to Chester's Mooring in South Addison, but they failed to return. Authorities have also been investigating a report the 2 men ran into unfavorable sea conditions on Saturday and have planned to seek refuge or had planned to seek refuge in Cutler, but there was still no sign of the men. Rescuers were joined by local fishermen Saturday night and Sunday, searching the water and shoreline between Lubec and South Addison. The Coast Guard announcing at around 6 p.m. last night they suspended the search for the Barretts. The Coast Guard's Northern New England commander released a statement and offered condolences to their family, saying, "We conduct every search and rescue mission with the hope of returning people to safety, which is why suspending any search effort is one of the hardest decisions we make."
Well, meanwhile, in other news this morning, Bangor police are investigating a pair of robberies at local convenience stores. They aren't releasing details this morning, but according to the scanner traffic, a robbery was reported at the Circle K on Outer Broadway around 8:30 last night. It was the same store that was held up last Monday night by a robber who got away. There are also reports the Big Apple store on State Street in Bangor was also robbed last night. According to the scanner traffic, police were looking for a black pickup truck with yellow lights on the roof. There are also reports that police eventually found that truck and that someone has been taken into custody. We'll certainly have more information on the alleged robberies as soon as they become available.
An explosion claimed the life of an Aroostook County man on Friday. According to the Maine State Police, the fire marshal's office was called to 118 Aroostook Road in Molunkus for an explosion with a fatality around 3 p.m. on Friday. 66-year-old Carrie Holmes was attempting to use a propane torch to thaw a frozen water tank on a commercial truck. The torch went out, causing gas to collect in and around the tank. An attempt by Holmes to thaw with a second torch is suspected to be the cause of the explosion. The incident is currently under investigation.
Well, meanwhile, the Hancock County Sheriff's Office says a Deer Isle man is dead after a crash on Friday morning. The Sheriff's Office says it was around 2:30 Friday morning when dispatchers received a report of a single vehicle crash on Sunset Road in Deer Isle. They say 42-year-old William Bulger of Deer Isle was traveling north on Sunset Road when his Toyota Tacoma left the roadway, rolled over, and then struck a tree before coming to a rest. Bulger died as a result of his injuries. The Sheriff's Office says speed and alcohol are believed to be contributing factors in that crash. The investigation is still ongoing.
On Saturday morning, a 75-year-old man had to be rescued on Echo Lake after the U-Haul truck he was driving broke through the ice. According to the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, the man was operating a rented U-Haul truck on Ikes Point Road in Mount Desert. Authorities say he then drove onto the frozen Echo Lake for approximately 450 yards before partially breaking through a part of the ice, where the ice was only about an inch thick. The man was able to crawl to the top of the truck to dial 911. Following the arrival of first responders, the truck completely broke through the ice. The authorities say the man appeared to be confused and unaware of his location, and that alcohol or any other substances were not suspected to be the cause of the incident. The man was transported to MDI Hospital and has since been released.
Well, the Maine Emergency Management Agency has issued a warning that dangerously cold temperatures are on the way. Here are some of the warming centers set up in the Bangor area. Take a look at your screen as we share some of the tips from MEMA as well. To help prevent your water pipes from freezing over the next few days, you should leave your cabinet doors open up in the kitchen to expose pipes to the heat in the house. You could do that in your bathroom too. Avoid prolonged outdoor activities and also make sure you have an emergency kit in your car. A blanket and first aid kit with food and water could save a life in the extreme cold. Prepare for power outages as well, and if you use a generator, make sure that you do it outside and run it a safe distance away from any windows. Certainly keep the windows closed. You don't want the fumes to get inside. And always keep an eye on your neighbors, loved ones, and pets. In addition to the warming centers listed on your screen, you can also check with your own town or warming centers in your local communities.
A Bangor area organization is seeking volunteers to help folks stay warm. Needlepoint Sanctuary is looking for volunteers to serve 3.5-hour shifts in their overnight warming shelter. The shelter will be open from 8 p.m. to 10 a.m. on the nights of the 20th and 21st. They're located at the Unitarian Universalist Society of Bangor at 110 Park Street. The program's director says volunteers and donations are needed to make sure those in need can get warm.
Folks are welcome to come and volunteer with us. We're asking if you want to volunteer to attend one of our volunteer trainings, which are going to happen at 5 p.m. on each of those days to just sort of orient people to the space.
For more information on how to sign up, you can visit our website, foxbangor.com.
According to the Maine CDC, one of Bangor area's 3 syringe service providers has had their certification revoked, and that's causing some problems. Our Callie Warren has more on what that means for other recovery organizations.
The Health Equity Alliance, a harm reduction organization also known as HEAL, cannot currently provide clean and sterile needles to Maine drug users. The news comes from the Maine CDC, who revoked the organization's syringe certification a few days ago. after HEAL's recertification materials reportedly did not meet standards for the state syringe exchange policy. The materials also lacked timelines, action steps, accountability for data collection, staff training, and more. The CDC revoked HEAL's certifications for their Bangor, Ellsworth, Rockland, and Deer Isle sites. The organization can still request an appeal or apply for recertification in the future. Maine DHHS Press Secretary Lindsay Hames says the Maine CDC is in touch with other syringe service programs to make sure people have access to sterile supplies. With the Health Equity Alliance currently unable to fulfill this need, other community organizations have to fill the gap.
We've seen a big increase, an increase that is hard to meet the need, I am going to say.
Sauk Basin says that from October to December, there's been a 3,000% increase in used needles collected.
Those needles that are out of our community and disposed of safely.
And an 1,800% increase in clean needles distributed. Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness and Needlepoint Sanctuary are the only providers in the Bangor area certified for needle exchanges.
Those who access our services and those who access the services of Health Equity Alliance, right? So that community is really suffering first and foremost.
These harm reduction organizations are working with the city and state to try to expand their programs and enhance access for safe use supplies. In Bangor, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
All right, the time now is 8:12. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, today is the second inauguration day for President Donald Trump. We'll hear the plan.
But first, another check of that weather forecast. Today, we can expect the snow coming to an end this morning. Otherwise, a partly cloudy day ahead with highs near 17 degrees. Mostly clear, things really chilling down overnight with lows dropping down to around -7. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a few flurries with highs near 60. We'll be right back.
You're way shorter than I thought you'd be. There's a shirtless selfie of me by the dumbbells. Here I am. I do air drumming. I'm a competitive air drummer.
Oh, wow.
By the way, I forgot my wallet at home, so sugar mama.
Will you excuse me?
The new Hyundai Tucson with advanced tech and safety features. There's joy in every journey. Lease an all-wheel drive Tucson SE for only $259 a month, or get 1.99% APR for 48 months. See your local Bangor Hyundai dealer.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With 25 years experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
Today, Donald Trump becomes the President of the United States for a second time. Trump taking the oath of office at noon inside the Capitol Rotunda. At a rally last night, he outlined the goals of his administration. ABC's Perry Russum is on Capitol Hill.
ABC News has learned President-elect Trump is preparing to take more than 200 executive actions on his first day back in office.
I will act with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country.
Immigration is a top priority for Trump. He is expected to declare a national emergency on the U.S.-Mexico border, order troops to build more infrastructure along the border, and relaunch his Remain in Mexico policy for migrants. Federal agents were expected to plan and carry out mass deportations in Chicago and other sanctuary cities, targeting high-priority criminal targets that DHS teams have been investigating for months.
So when ICE goes out, they're going to know exactly who they're looking for.
But now when and where those possible deportation raids could take place is reportedly being reconsidered after initial details were leaked.
By the time the sun sets tomorrow evening, the invasion of our borders will have come to a halt.
Trump is expected to issue executive orders that will roll back limits on offshore drilling, repeal rules on electric vehicles, and rescind DEI and gender-related directives from the Biden administration. Trump also pledging to pardon some of the rioters who were at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Trump returns to the Capitol today, taking the oath of office indoors because of the bitter cold. About 600 invited guests are expected to attend. Nearly 8,000 National Guard troops from 40 states are protecting the events. The Secret Service tells ABC News there are no active direct threats to the inauguration ceremony.
Before heading to the Capitol this morning, Trump and Biden will have tea in the White House. Biden will be at the inauguration today. Trump was not there 4 years ago when it was Biden's turn. Perry Russum, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
President-elect Donald Trump marks his comeback with a Make America Great Again victory rally in Washington. The event bringing together more than 20,000 Trump supporters on the eve of his inauguration. The rally was one of several celebrations for the incoming president over the weekend. On Saturday night, a fireworks show was held at his Virginia Golf Club, along with exclusive dinners and receptions. Trump says he's ready to make big changes on day one in office.
On the eve of taking back our country, that's what we're going to do, take back our country. Tomorrow at noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride. But starting tomorrow, I will act with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it.
Trump had the usual lineup of guest speakers address the crowd, including his VP pick J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, and Dana White, among others. Performers for the night included Kid Rock, Village People, and Billy Ray Cyrus.
The inauguration of a president and a celebration of a civil rights hero coincide today. President-elect Donald Trump will be inaugurated in Washington, D.C., and the late Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy will also be celebrated. That makes for combinations on what's open on today and what's not. Starting with what's not open, the New York Stock Exchange will not have trading. Most government offices and some federal operations like the Postal Service will be closed. Most major banking institutions will also not have normal business hours. UPS deliveries will not be made. But for what is open, FedEx will have some business operations, and businesses like Walmart, Target, and other grocery stores like our local Hannaford's will serve customers as well. Local businesses like restaurants could vary, however.
You may want to call ahead before you head out. Well, folks gathered yesterday afternoon at the First United Methodist Church in Bangor to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday marked Faith Linking in Action's 3rd annual celebration event. According to event organizer Suzanne Kelly, the nonprofit is comprised of 9 diverse Bangor area faith communities, all working to address the issues of poverty and injustice, all through the inspiration of Dr. King's work and words. This year's celebration focused on homelessness, and Kelly says Sunday's event was a way to bring people together to share their perspectives.
It's important to get Martin Luther King's words out and for people to know what they can do locally to help people who are poor and who are struggling. And so this is a good way to do it. It brings people together, you get different perspectives.
The documentary film Building Hope, Ending Homelessness was also played during Sunday's event. To learn more, you can visit this story on our website, foxbangor.com.
All right, the time now is 8:19. After the break, weather is set to be frigid all week. We'll hear how locals were preparing over the weekend.
Plus that full weather forecast coming up on Good Morning Maine.
I slipped and fell on some ice in a parking lot.
Slip and fall? Make the call to Maine's most recognized personal injury law firm, the law offices of Joe Bornstein.
I'd recommend their services to anyone. Call Joe. It's that easy.
A new year and a new adventure with the perfect Chevy to take you anywhere. With pure power unleashed and future-forward technology. Because every mile matters. and every path leads to new possibilities. Qualified Chevy lessees can get this 2025 Silverado for around $409 a month, or current Chevy owners can get $5,000 total cash allowance.
Are your gutters weighed down by debris causing them to sag and overflow? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems. Clogged gutters lead to costly repairs for your home, so skip the cleaning and stop the clogs with Gutter Shutter. Gutter Shutter, the world's best gutter, is a high-performance gutter with a lifetime no-clog guarantee. Stop the clutter, get Gutter Shutter. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
As a hybrid pioneer, followed by years of refinement, Toyota has earned praise for creating the most advanced and reliable hybrid system. Now with more hybrid all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive models than any other brand. Like the powerful RAV4 plug-in hybrid with ample comfort and a total driving range of up to 600 miles. So see your New England Toyota dealer, your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Did he lose his shirt?
I've never seen anybody lose their shirt.
Do you think they made him pay triple?
Who's the law firm?
The law offices of Joe Bornstein.
If you've been injured in an accident, call Joe.
I don't think this is the right story.
No, it isn't?
It's not the right story for right now. You got to scroll up.
I have no idea where we are.
Oh,
Hold
okay.
on a second. Yeah. Hold on, stay with us.
Yeah.
Tell you what, let's just send it over to Devin for a look at that forecast.
Okay.
We'll get our stuff together and move on.
That sounds good.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by SR1 Companies. Visit SR1 in Herman, Turner, Manchester, and at our newest location, 485 Main Street in Orono. We have the best prices on trailers, campers, tractors, heavy equipment, and more. SR1 Companies, with New England's largest selection, meets unbeatable prices. Here we go this morning. Many advisories posted because of the snowfall. This will expire this morning and again during the afternoon period. Some alerts along the coast because of active surf and some cold weather alerts to the north as well, as we're watching cold weather that will be moving in. Wave heights right now at about 5 to 10 feet according to the buoys right about in here, even up to 13 to 14 feet farther out towards sea. Meanwhile, on land, the snow is reducing visibility at around a mile or two this morning, so if you have to be out, be careful, take it slow, and allow extra time to get to your destination. There is a snowfall right here tracking from the southwest and going to the north and east, making things a mess this morning. This afternoon, as this tracks off to the north and east, we'll start to see some improvement moving forward. Again, here's a big picture here. And again, once we get this off to the north and east, things will start to calm down for us. The rest of the East Coast looking rather quiet at this moment in time. Just that cold blast that's starting to move in. So we'll have the clouds moving out of here later on. Will then become partly cloudy with the snow and the clouds moving out with a mostly clear sky on the way later on tonight. Tomorrow we start off sunny. We have some clouds approaching for the afternoon period on Tuesday. A few flurries cannot be ruled out, no big deal. We'll start to clear out of here Tuesday night moving forward. Otherwise, again, very minimal snowfall added today, so overall nothing too ridiculous there. We'll add a little bit as we head towards tomorrow, but again, not a whole lot on the way at this point. Again, gusty winds on the way that could reach up to about 25 to even 30 miles per hour today, backing off a little bit overnight tonight, but then we'll calm down for a bit before the winds return again throughout the day for your Tuesday. So for today, upper teens, morning snow showers, then becoming partly cloudy later on. Northwest wind at about 25 miles per hour. Tonight, 7 below, getting cold, mostly clear with wind chills near 15 below, and that west wind at about 25 miles per hour. Tomorrow, 16 degrees, partly cloudy, a few flurries possible in the afternoon, and that west wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by SR1 Companies. Mostly sunny on Wednesday with highs in the mid-teens. Mostly cloudy Thursday, a slight chance for snow, highs in the low 20s, mid-20s Friday under a partly cloudy sky.
So temps appear to be slowly rising as the week goes on.
We'll take that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, as a winter storm hits our state, many folks on Saturday stocked up on groceries, grabbed cold weather gear, and made sure they're prepared for potential power outages.
Callie Warren has more.
We do get ready, for the cold. We hate to go out in it.
It's no secret that Maine winters can be brutal.
Being from the Northeast, it's just like, oh, -15, okay.
And with a winter storm watch warning of frigid temperatures and potentially dangerous conditions for Sunday and Monday.
It's going to be below 0, by the way.
Bangor area residents are layering up.
Don't be like me, have a nice coat.
Hunkering down.
What are some of the grocery essentials you got?
I'm gonna have a hot soup, comfort foods, I think.
And getting cozy.
I don't want to leave my couch at all.
The Maine Emergency Management Agency has provided folks with a list of advice and tips to stay safe and warm during the storm and its frigid temperatures. Visit this story on our website to learn more. In Bangor, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
All right after the break, we'll have the latest on national news.
Don't go away.
Cut! I get it. Slow motion. Slow down geographic atrophy. But we don't need gimmicks.
Stick to the facts. GA, the advanced form of dry AMD, can irreversibly damage your vision.
But Syfovre is an FDA-approved eye injection that gives you the power to slow GA.
Syfovre was proven to slow GA lesion growth over 2 years with increasing effect over time. It's the only treatment to slow GA in as few as 6 doses per year.
Don't take Syfovre if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye that may include pain and redness or are allergic to it. Syfovre can cause severe allergic reactions. Other serious side effects are eye infection and retinal detachments, severe inflammation of vessels in the retina, which may result in severe vision loss, wet AMD, eye inflammation, and an increase in eye pressure. Most common side effects are eye discomfort, wet AMD, small specks floating in vision, and blood in the white of the eye. Tell your doctor right away if you have any side effects.
Act on facts to slow GA. Ask your retina specialist about Syfovre.
Nope, just the facts.
When Northern Shores Cleaning wants to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. Northern Shores Cleaning provides outstanding residential and commercial cleaning services to eastern and central Maine. Northern Shores Cleaning also provides off-site laundry services as well as property management.
Dr. Larson has no recollection of the last 8 years.
Doc is TV's next big medical drama.
I don't know what I did or who I am now.
And you can watch the riveting episodes anytime.
You can't leave her in the dark forever. No.
And every Tuesday,
Me and Amy were together. I want to tell her.
don't miss an all-new unforgettable episode.
I will be a doctor again.
Doc, all new Tuesdays on Fox and watch anytime on Hulu.
The future of TikTok. Uncertain this morning, even after an intervention from President-elect Donald Trump. Here's ABC's Andrew Dimbert.
Over the weekend, just hours after the video sharing platform shut down for its 170 million users in the U.S., it came back.
We're back.
TikTok restoring service shortly after President-elect Trump stepped in, promising to delay enforcement of the ban by signing an executive order when he takes office today.
And as of today, TikTok is back.
Trump saying his administration will not enforce hefty fines against tech companies like Apple, Google, and Oracle, which keep TikTok working. But Trump's options to save the app are still limited. The law requires TikTok's Chinese parent company to divest its stake in TikTok's U.S. platform due to national security concerns. But it also gives the president the power to decide what counts as a qualified divestiture. Trump is now suggesting a partnership.
But let the United States of America own 50% of TikTok. I'm approving on behalf of the United States.
Before Trump's reprieve, the app's 14-hour shutdown left content creators reeling.
I feel like sometimes people forget that there are people on the app that are using this as their income, and so you're kind of in the middle, and it feels like they don't really care.
Although the app is back for now, Apple and Google are not allowing new downloads or software updates for TikTok while users wait to see if some kind of sale can be made. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Well, meanwhile, 3 Israeli hostages who have been held by Hamas were also handed over to Israeli forces on Sunday as a part of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Photos show the women ages 24 through 31 reuniting with their mothers at a reception center in southern Israel. They were then flown to a hospital where they will receive medical treatment and reunite with the rest of their families. The women were kidnapped by Hamas from the Nova Music Festival in kibbutz. A long-awaited ceasefire went into effect at 11:15 a.m. local time after a nearly 3-hour delay. The release of the 3 hostages was expected to be followed by Israel's release of about 90 Palestinian prisoners later on Sunday.
A crowd of thousands turned out in a West Bank city in Gaza on Sunday evening to greet Palestinian detainees, released as part of the ceasefire deal between Hamas and Israel. Palestinians crowded the buses carrying the recently freed prisoners, and some climbed on top, chanting and cheering. The crowd waited hours for the release of the 90 prisoners, which occurred more than 7 hours after the first Israeli hostages were freed by Hamas. This fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas took hold following 15 months of war, and more difficult steps are ahead over the next 6 weeks. The Hamas-led October 7, 2023 attack on southern Israel killed some 1,200 people and left some 250 others captive. Nearly 100 hostages remain in Gaza. Israel responded with an offensive that has killed more than 46,000 Palestinians, according to local health officials who say women and children make up more than half the dead. Of course, experts on this ceasefire deal were saying that we just need to wait until Sunday to know if it holds. This is a very good sign for the ceasefire that it should hold, but this first phase of the ceasefire is the only one that has really been hammered out. Phase 2 and 3 are ones that have not really been figured out. I mean, as you said, Craig, there were only 3 Israeli hostages that were returned to Israel. There are a lot more, and that doesn't even include bodies of hostages.
Right.
So they still need to figure out how are we getting the rest of these people home, and how are we going about finding the bodies of the people who we don't know where they are yet.
A lot of negotiations underway, and they have these groups in the middle of it all trying to work out these deals. So hopefully we'll hear some more good news over the week ahead. Hey, had some breaking news this morning, just announced within the last half hour or so that President Biden has issued some more last-minute pardons before he leaves the White House. They are calling these preemptive pardons because some folks are worried that once President Trump takes office, he may want to go after some of his old enemies. Some of those on the list today include Dr. Anthony Fauci, General Mark Milley, who used to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He had called Trump a fascist. Members of the House committee that investigated the January 6th attack, including Liz Cheney, among those who were pardoned this morning. The president saying it's not that they did anything wrong, they're just wanting to issue these blanket pardons to protect them once the new administration is in place.
Gotcha. I guess I didn't realize that could be done.
Yeah.
All right, the time now is 8:33. Coming up on the second half of the newscast, we'll hear from former residents of the old Bangor Children's Home, which served the community as an orphanage for over 100 years.
That and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
It's the Furniture Gallery's anniversary sale. Celebrate with us and save big. Queen mattresses as low as $198. Want to recline? Recliners start at just $298. Or upgrade to a power recliner for just $398. Reclining sofa and recliner, just $998. The Furniture Gallery anniversary prices don't stop there. Refresh your living room. Sofas starting at just $448. Complete your bedroom, 5-piece set for only $898. Support our Maine family-owned business and save money. The Furniture Gallery.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Monday, January 20th, 2025. It is also Martin Luther King Day.
We began observing this national holiday in 1986 to celebrate the life of the slain civil rights leader. King was best known for his work on racial equality and ending racial segregation in the United States. The call for a national holiday on his birthday began soon after his assassination in 1968, but it wasn't until 1983 that a bill was passed by Congress. It's now a time to reflect on his teachings and his life achievements.
All right, time for some history. It was on this day back in 1778. James Cook became the first European to set foot on the Hawaiian Islands. He called them the Sandwich Islands at the time. In 1882, the first officially recognized game of basketball was played at the YMCA in Springfield, Massachusetts, where it was invented. In 1971, the Marvin Gaye hit single, What's Going On, was released to the public. And in 1980, President Jimmy Carter sent a letter to the U.S. Olympic Committee suggesting the Summer Olympics be moved from Moscow after the Soviet Union failed to remove its troops from Afghanistan. That didn't happen, of course, and the U.S., along with 60 countries, eventually boycotted the Moscow Games. Just heartbreaking for the athletes who had been training all those years for that one chance at gold. Some of them were able to return in other Olympics after that, but some of them, that was their one and only chance.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of huge news at the time. That was not customary at all.
No, politics got in the way.
Right. In 1981, the Iranian hostage crisis came to an end minutes after President Ronald Reagan was sworn into office. The 52 captives had been held at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran for 444 days. In 1998, American researchers announced they had cloned calves that may produce medicinal milk. And in 2020, the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the U.S., touching off the pandemic here in America.
Wonder whatever happened to that medicinal milk.
I know.
Yeah, I remember the cloned calves. I don't remember the milk part of it all.
Well, in this day and age of bird flu and everything else, and manufactured conspiracies about manufactured diseases, I'm like, let's just be real careful.
Let's not make any funny milk out there.
I know. Funny milk. Keep your funny milk to yourself.
You funny milk people. All right, today's birthdays include Paul Stanley from the rock group Kiss. He is 73 years old today. Actor Rainn Wilson from The Office turns 59.
He's so funny.
And comedian and talk show host Bill Maher turns 69 as well. I used to like him a lot more when he was just a comedian, and now he's a talk show host. And,
right.
I don't want to see you like that, but
is it?
My own
it's
personal
like
opinion.
Political.
Yeah, he does a lot of political stuff,
right.
and he can be funny too. But
but that's the point of the show, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Hey, moving on now. It looks like it's going to be cold.
Yep.
It's going to be more cold, even more cold on top of that.
Yeah, but first we have to get through the digging out part.
I know, which is also actually going to be cold as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right.
So here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
And thank you very much, Craig and Emma. Happy Monday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by SR1 Companies. Visit SR1 in Herman, Turner, Manchester, and at our newest location, 485 Main Street in Orono. We have the best prices on trailers, campers, tractors, heavy equipment, and more. SR1 Companies, where New England's largest selection meets unbeatable prices. Here we go. This morning, we have winter storm warnings that will last until about the afternoon period today. Roadways will be a mess for a while. Many advisories up because of the snowfall and the cold weather on the way as well, and active surf along the coast. Meanwhile, visibility levels not very great as we start things off this morning at about a mile or so. So again, take it slow and allow extra time if you have to be out. Otherwise, the radar and satellite still showing a snow tracking in from the southwest and going to the north and east. We'll see this gradually back off throughout the daytime period today with improvement as we head towards the afternoon. Zooming things out, this is the only thing going on across the northeast right now, and once this moves out of here, we'll start to calm down in our backyard. Futurecast for today showing a partly cloudy sky later on and a mostly clear sky for the most part coming up later on tonight. Some gusty winds today reaching up to about 25 to even 30 miles per hour at times. The gusty winds continue for a while tonight, but backing off for a bit as we head towards tomorrow morning. By tomorrow afternoon, the winds will be back. Hourly forecast moving forward showing decreasing clouds with temperatures in the teens. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
All right, thank you, Devin. Well, a buddy comedy debut, a part of history, and allegedly rapping way too physically are among today's reports in the Showbiz Report.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Here's ABC's Chuck Siverson.
Are you having a heart attack?
A big start for Sony's R-rated comedy.
You been that girl.
One of them days with an $11.6 million debut, narrowly beating Disney's Mufasa the Lion King, which earned $11.5 million in its fifth weekend. Blumhouse's horror film Wolfman took third place with $10.6 million. Big-name performers at presidential inauguration events include Kid Rock, a longtime Trump supporter, and Billy Ray Cyrus, who joined Lee Greenwood and the Village People at a rally in Washington Sunday, along with a choir from Liberty University. Today's swearing-in ceremony will feature Carrie Underwood singing America the Beautiful, opera tenor Christopher Macchio performing the national anthem, and Greenwood. Jason Aldean, 5-time Grammy nominee, is set to perform at the Liberty Ball Monday night alongside the Village People and a surprise musical guest. Rapper Busta Rhymes is accused of repeatedly punching another man in the face earlier this month, say police in Brooklyn, New York, charged with third-degree assault, a misdemeanor. Cops say it happened after an argument. Rhymes is known for songs that include Break Your Neck, Touch It, and Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Could See. Rainn Wilson, who played Dwight on the TV sitcom The Office, turns 59 today. Chuck Severson, ABC News.
There you go.
Great scene. Love that scene.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right after the break, Doug Banks has our sports updates.
Don't go away.
Orno Arcade has expanded, and we have dozens of new games to play. We have prize machines, including an entire section dedicated to your favorite modern games. We have games from the 80s and games from the 90s. Plus, we have the largest selection of indie arcade games in the country, along with 9-hole blacklight mini golf. We also have a brand new birthday party room. Hey, we have it all. Come on up to Orno and experience one of the most unique family entertainment centers in Maine.
When it's time to replace your windows or doors, get the benefits of over 75 years of experience in building product sales and service from Hammond Lumber Company. In-store showroom displays with the latest design trends from top manufacturers. Knowledgeable, fully trained salespeople and in-house design services. A team of certified techs providing service after the sale, and job site delivery from 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. When it's time for new windows and doors, it's time to bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
Get this low-mileage lease on this 2025 Cadillac XT5 for around $499 per month. Visit Quirk Cadillac in Bangor.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
The Legacy Sandwich, where you can find quality, homemade sandwiches that are made to order. When it comes to food, we take it seriously. That's why we serve shredded chicken and turkey on our sandwiches. Voted Bangor's best deli sandwich shop. It's not just a sandwich, it's a legacy.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
Tell her. What is it?
Paper change.
Come on, please, please. I love you.
Rescue High Surf returns tonight on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. Doug Banks here. Jack Webb is off, so I'll be taking care of sports. So let's jump right in. First, it was the closest Cooper Flagg would get to Maine this season with the Duke Blue Devils, and he and Maine fans made it count. Basketball fans from all over the Pine Tree State flocked to Boston College on Saturday to watch the Newport native take on the Eagles, and our Tyler Cruz was there for the whole show.
It's been over a year since Cooper Flagg took the court in front of some New England fans, and he did just that in Chestnut Hill on Saturday night, taking the floor in front of what looked like a home crowd, a huge Duke following with a lot of blue flag jerseys. Some people coming all the way down from Aroostook County. Cooper says seeing all that support from Maine is definitely a blessing.
I don't know how many hours that is, but I would say a lot. But it's huge, the level of support, and just to be able to see them show up and support, it just means a lot to me, and just gives me a lot of confidence, and I'm just really blessed.
What a special turnout. You know, I mean, look, this is as close as we're going to get to Maine, and we've been here a lot. The representation of Duke fans has always been great. This was, I think, the best I've ever seen it, and I think a lot of it has to do with Maine, and so that was a pretty special thing to see.
Cooper poured in 28 points, helping Duke to an 88-63 win over the Eagles. That's their 12th straight, and his head coach says it's more than just the scoring that impresses him.
You know, it's the fact that he's going to make the right play. You feel just the trust that's there is at such a high level. So I think what he's done, working at his game and then adjusting to the college game so quickly, you know, he still should be in high school.
I mean, this was my dream growing up my entire life. to be in the position that I'm in right now. So just trying to enjoy it and just stay in the moment is the biggest thing.
The Blue Devils will have a whole week off before their next game that is at Wake Forest next Saturday, and we will have more from Chestnut Hill as the week goes on. From Chestnut Hill, I'm Tyler Cruz with ABC7 Fox 22 Sports.
Pretty cool to see there. We'll stay with the hardwood now as both UMaine teams were in action on Saturday. We'll start with the women who hosted UMBC. We pick it up at the end of the third quarter as Lauren Thompson buries the three as time expires, but Maine remains up double digits. Shortly after, it's Olivia Rockwood steals the ball and takes it coast to coast to lay it in for two and add to the Black Bears' lead. UMBC trying to climb back now as Jaden Walker lays it up and in for 2 points. Maine on the attack now. Asta Blonfelt stops, gathers, and hits the mid-range jumper to put Maine up 19. Final effort from Retrievers now. Talia Davis buries the corner three, but this one would be all Maine. Carolyn Bornman can't get the shot to fall, but Carolyn Dodsey is there to clean it up as Maine wins their second in a row, 61-47.
Yeah, no, I mean, this week was really big for us. You know, we needed to win both games, and I thought we played well on the road, just didn't finish plays, didn't do enough to get the W, you know, so we got to learn from that, but I was proud of how they responded.
We head down to Maryland now, where the Maine men are visiting UMBC. We pick it up first possession, where Kellen Tynes finds Keelan Steele wide open for the score. Maine again on the attack. This time, it's AJ Lopez. He gets the and one bucket to go. He had 24 points in the contest. Maine all over the Retrievers out the gate. It's Lopez again, this time from beyond the arc, as he knocks down the corner three. UMBC trying to get back into this one, where Gamontes Kunais gets the layup to go on the break. But 8 points is as close as UMBC would get. Second half now, it's Tynes to Steele again, as Steele slams it home and Maine picks up an impressive road win, 87-62 against UMBC. We'll head over to the Cross Center now, where Bangor Christian hosted Greenville. We picked this one up in the first quarter, where Brown is there to drain the three and chip into the BCS lead. Shortly after, it's Rajon Reed's turn. He buries the deep tray to extend the Patriot lead to 14. Greenville again now. This time it's Terrio who buries the jumper from beyond the arc. Reed getting it done on both ends with this monster block. Check this out. Yep, that is a monster block. Second half now. This free throw isn't just any other ordinary free throw. Liam Mason, it puts Liam Mason over 1,000-point mark. Congratulations to him. And he is also a 100 goals plus goal scorer in soccer as well. Very impressive there. Greenville would storm back and make this a game, but the Patriots would hold them off as Stouthier buries the jumper and BCS wins 55-45. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Don't get cold feet this winter. Stay warm and dry with high-performance footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. With an extensive selection of winter boots rated from 0 to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll find comfort in knowing your feet will be warm in any weather. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear with grippers built right into the sole, with boots in stock up to 6E and size 17 for men and women. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
Finding the right vehicle for you and your family can be a daunting task. At Varney Buick GMC, our expert staff is here to make the journey as painless as possible. Our goal is to get you and your family in a vehicle that will best fit into your lifestyle. Communication is key, and our team makes sure to be completely transparent throughout the process, informing you on all of your options. Come experience Varney value, only at Varney Buick GMC.
We've got an all-new game with a new way to play. It's Cash Pop from the Maine Lottery. You just pick one number from 1 to 15. If your number's drawn, you win. Just like that, with cash prizes up to $2,500 and 5 drawings every day. You gotta make it pop with Cash Pop.
Monday on Fox, it's a special women's college basketball doubleheader.
She is an absolute gamer.
four of the most prestigious programs tip off in the inaugural Coretta Scott King Classic. First, Lauren Betts leads top-ranked UCLA.
She is so smooth.
Against Baylor.
She's on fire.
Then, 7th-ranked Texas takes on 8th-ranked Maryland.
She won't be denied.
Begins Monday at 3 Eastern on Fox.
On a hill in Bangor's west side sits the Hilltop School. Now a preschool serving Bangor's families, it was previously an orphanage that provided asylum to countless children. I sat down with a local historian and former residents of the orphanage to learn more. It's a place that may seem imposing to the average passerby, but for many decades, this building was home to many children. For over 100 years, the Bangor Children's Home served the greater Bangor area as an orphanage, taking in children who had nowhere else to go.
I was screaming. I didn't like the looks of the place. And I remember my father picking me up, and I had my arms around him so tight that he had tears going down his cheek.
Children came from all around the state and beyond due to all kinds of circumstances, but the binding affinity child residents had in common was a lack of adequate care.
And all of a sudden, I had this like volcanic emotion erupt in me, and I was sobbing, and I said, he left me there.
Established in 1839, children, or inmates of the asylum, as they were known for decades, were provided shelter and found families to adopt them. But still, many were placed out into foster care again and again, or became servants, many possibly enduring abuse and further trauma.
Looking back, the conditions might have been harsh by today's standards, but by what was actually going on in society then, where there was no social net to protect families and children that were in dire conditions. This was definitely a step up for those kids, for most of them.
And because of these painful realities, former residents oftentimes have powerful memories.
And you'd get times when you'd get to crying and get to wondering. I remember praying, God, let me see my brother, please. And I would get to crying, and I'd go in to one of the house mothers, and they'd take you right in their arms and talk to you and love you and rock you. And
memories which would often shape a moral compass.
And I swore, even as a little girl, that my kids, no matter what, I would never leave them. And I swore that I would repay the state by making something of myself.
And in 1975, when the state transitioned away from using orphanages to foster care instead, the building became the Hilltop School, which was made possible thanks to the original deed that requires the building to be used for the benefit of children. And so its legacy continues, raising and educating new generations of Bangor's children, just like it has for 186 years. In Bangor, I'm Emma Smith for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
An interesting story. So many people drive by and you see it up there on the hill. You don't really know too much about it.
Yep.
Glad you did that.
Yeah. I was speaking with one of the former residents after the story aired, and she said, I almost backed out of doing this interview, but I'm really glad I didn't. This has helped me heal in a way to know that people learned that she says that she was abused. She said, as a child, I felt unfairly treated than the other children because I was a state kid. I was taken away from my parents, and not all the kids who had to go to the orphanage were in that situation. There were boarders as well, so there were a lot of different kids in a lot of different situations. Either way, though, for all of those kids, it was extremely traumatic.
Yeah.
They were taken away from their families, or they didn't have a family to begin with, or their families or their parents died. So either way, there is a lot of traumatic memories. Either way, I think it's really interesting because some folks said I was treated with so much love and care. So it's not an easy story to tell. And either way now, the way that the building is being used now is really cool because that deed that built the building required that it be used for children. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why it's still a daycare.
And they've got a great program over there. I've been able to go there and speak to the kids a few times over the years. And just
I've toured it multiple times, and those kids have all sorts of stuff to do. They have all sorts of caretakers, and they're having fun.
Great report.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
All right, now let's get a look at that forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by SR1 Companies. Visit SR1 in Herman, Turner, Manchester, and at our newest location, 485 Main Street in Orono. We have the best prices on trailers, campers, tractors, heavy equipment, and more. SR1 Companies, where New England's largest selection meets unbeatable prices. Here we go this morning. Many advisories posted because of the snowfall. This will expire this morning and again during the afternoon period. Some alerts along the coast because of active surf, and some cold weather alerts to the north as well, as we're watching cold weather that will be moving in. Wave heights right now at about 5 to 10 feet according to the buoys right about in here, even up to 13 to 14 feet farther out towards sea. Meanwhile, on land, the snow is reducing visibility at around a mile or two this morning, so if you have to be out, be careful, take it slow, and allow extra time to get to your destination. There is a snowfall right here tracking from the southwest and going to the north and east, making things a mess this morning. This afternoon, as this tracks off to the north and east, we'll start to see some improvement moving forward. Again, here's the big picture here. And again, once we get this off to the north and east, things will start to calm down for us. The rest of the East Coast looking rather quiet at this moment in time. Just that cold blast that's starting to move in. So we'll have the clouds moving out of here later on. Will then become partly cloudy with the snow and the clouds moving out, with a mostly clear sky on the way later on tonight. Tomorrow we start off sunny. We have some clouds approaching for the afternoon period on Tuesday. A few flurries cannot be ruled out, no big deal. We'll start to clear out of here Tuesday night moving forward. Otherwise, again, very minimal snowfall added today, so overall nothing too ridiculous there. We'll add a little bit as we head towards tomorrow, but again, not a whole lot on the way at this point. Again, gusty winds on the way that could reach up to about 25 to even 30 miles per hour today, backing off a little bit overnight tonight, but then we'll calm down for a bit before the winds return again throughout the day for your Tuesday. So for today, upper teens, morning snow showers, then becoming partly cloudy later on. Northwest wind at about 25 miles per hour. Tonight, 7 below, getting cold, mostly clear with wind chills near 15 below, and that west wind at about 25 miles per hour. Tomorrow, 16 degrees, partly cloudy, a few flurries possible in the afternoon, and that west wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by SR1 Companies. Mostly sunny on Wednesday with highs in the mid-teens. Mostly cloudy Thursday, a slight chance for snow. Highs in the low 20s. Mid-20s Friday under a partly cloudy sky.
Located on Wilson Street in Brewer, Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, where you'll find only the best sushi, Asian favorites, and specialty crafted cocktails that will satisfy anyone. Try tatami seating for an immersive experience. Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, bringing delicious traditions to you.
Rowell's Garage has been serving customers in the greater Dover-Foxcroft region since 1946. Our goal is not just selling you a vehicle, but also giving you quality service to maintain your vehicle at peak performance. Browse our inventory online or in person. Whether it's a car, truck, or SUV, we can put you in the vehicle that is right for you. Sales, service, and parts. Rowell's Garage, doing business the right way every day.
Driving the Nissan Rogue with Google built-in is like the perfect assist.
Hey Google, add basketball hoop to the shopping list.
See why it's been named a Consumer Guide Best Buy for 11 years in a row. Drive the award-winning Nissan Rogue today.
Now, get a low $289 per month lease on Rogue, one of 6 Nissan vehicles with starting MSRP under $30,000.
Mainers know the toughest battles aren't won overnight, and when it comes to quitting smoking or vaping, it may take many tries to get it right. The Maine QuitLink provides the tools you need to stay on track. Free gum, patches and lozenges, plus customized plans to fit your life. No insurance, no copay, no cost to Mainers. No matter how long you've smoked or vaped, quitting is possible. The Maine QuitLink is proven to work and can increase your chance of success. Quit like a Mainer. Enroll online at mainequitlink.com or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Located on Wilson Street in Brewer, Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, where you'll find only the best sushi, Asian favorites, and specialty crafted cocktails that will satisfy anyone. Try tatami seating for an immersive experience. Yoshi Japanese Restaurant, bringing delicious traditions to you.
America's premier record keeper needs folks to help them scroll through documents written in a lost art. The National Archives is looking for volunteers who know how to correctly read cursive writing styles. The archive says it has 300 million documents in its catalog, and it needs people with the almost superpower skill of reading cursive. About 5,000 volunteers currently assist, but the archives needs even more. Documents contain items going back 200 years and records run from the Revolutionary War to the 1950 census. The archive says there's no application. All you need to do is sign up online.
Cool. Sounds like you could do it from home.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a lost art. People can't read cursive like they used to.
No, I definitely can't. Yeah. All right, looks like we're about out of time. If you missed anything, head to foxbangor.com.
Have a great day, everyone.
Today on 25 Words or Less, still working through the intense physical therapy required to remove the pageant circuit smile that is her face's default state, is Lace Larrabee! And joining Lace are cousins Cyrus and AJ.